Hello, everyone. My name is Soth, and I'm the Director of Clinical Services for Evergreen Treatment Services. My journey here today started long before I had been impacted by the devastation of overdose. I grew up in central Washington in the small town of Wenatchee. I lived a privileged life that many of you can assume from the salient qualities that you see before you. However, early in my life, I learned a very important lesson. There are people cast aside who need to be cared for. There are diseases that society has little understanding of, and those afflicted by them rejected by the very systems that they need to survive. This lesson of stigma based on diagnosis came through the work of my mother, who was a communal health nurse in the 80s. This was the height of the HIV/AIDS crisis in a small, very conservative town. The stigma, I'm going to call it what it is, discrimination, was very real. Not only for those who were dealing with what was then a death sentence, but also for those who cared to care for them. This was so intense that friends were forbidden to come to our home, simply because my mother would hold support group meetings for her patients there. I share this story for reasons other than to point out how amazing my mother is, and more because there are comparisons that are very clear to the crisis we are dealing with today. Today we stand in the midst of a national epidemic, one that is robbing us on a daily basis of those we love. Just like 30 years ago, those impacted by the diagnosis of substance use disorder are cast aside, seen as unwilling to care for themselves and facing a disease of morality. These arguments bear little difference to those during the AIDS epidemic, and the consequences are eerily similar. The loss of tens of thousands of lives. How is it that we have come to this point? First is through fear. We see billboards of addicts with pictures that could have been pulled from the history books of World War II. We're led to believe that addicts need to just say no or get on the wagon, that somehow they're responsible for this disease that afflicts them. We hear legislators say that maybe stigma is good, that if we make people feel enough shame, it will somehow motivate people to want something different, when in fact, shame often drives people deeper into their addiction. We have for too long called this stigma. Please, I ask all of you to start calling this what it actually is: discrimination. The population that has a diagnosis of a substance use disorder are discriminated against. Access to care is limited and difficult to obtain. Yes, things are improving due to the work of many of you standing here today and because of lives lost. We must stand up against this discrimination. We must stand up for those whose voice is silenced by ignorance, fear, hate, and tragically death. Ending discrimination is a long journey, and the best route to its death is through personal relationships. This means that each of us has the ability to make an impact. Do not sit silent when you hear others talk about this issue. Speak up. The more people are challenged on their false beliefs about this disease, the more we can erode the structures of discrimination. In the 80s, many believed if you shared a toilet seat with somebody that had AIDS, you could contract the virus. Today, many people believe that if someone faces harsh enough consequences, they will just say no. Both have scientifically been debunked. Be armed with what we know works, what saves lives, and what keeps our community healthy. I'm going to share with you 4 things that we know work. First and foremost, love. I know this sounds a little corny and maybe oversimplified. However, one of the things we know through research is that being a part of a community is one of the best treatments for a substance use disorder. So quite literally, being loved and feeling a part of is therapeutic. Second is medication-assisted treatment. It is scientifically proven to reduce the likelihood of an overdose by 50% and is the gold standard of care for opioid use disorders. At Evergreen Treatment Services, we see how this treatment gives people an opportunity to grow in their own path of recovery every day. Third is the overdose reversal drug Narcan. We recommend that anyone who consumes opioids, whether illicit or prescribed, or maybe around someone who overdoses, gets a Narcan kit. And there are Narcan kits available here today, so get them, please. Fourth are safe consumption sites, or shelves, which were recommended by the Opioid Task Force here in King County because they save lives. Our community is healthiest when we love those afflicted with this disease, when we provide services that are proven through rigorous study to work, when we utilize medications to reduce the risk of overdose, and when people are safe and treated with dignity and respect. Every person is worth it. Each of you is worth it. When we work together, we can turn epidemics around. We have done it in the past, and we can and will do it again. Thank you, and Devin for me.